evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's On the Sofa. We've got a treat in store for you tonight. We have got the KITMEN for you. The celebrities from their own podcast have agreed to join us on our On the Sofa tonight. So we're very privileged to have them with us tonight too. Just one thing, Fans Forum, we do apologise for the late notice of the cancellation of it, or should I say postponement, because we will be getting a date in for early August, just as the season starts. So, but yes, we do apologise for the lateness of the cancellation. So I will get Vic on and we'll make a start. Hiya, Vic.
Evening to you, Chris. I trust you're well. A very good night last night at the county ground, and we all enjoyed that, I think, in aid of type 1 diabetes research. So we'll talk to one of the star performers in a moment, and also my co-commentator as well. So good night. I had all, I think.
Yes, I think it was lovely to see so many people there, and also lovely to see so many of our ex-players and things taking the field again and all playing together, and some fans as well, which one of our panelists, Mitchell, he had a starring role, so yeah, so good luck, good for him, and good luck to Paul and Summer for the donations, which you can still go on to GoFundMe. I think the club put out a social today with the link, so if you didn't manage to attend but you'd still like to donate, please do that. I'll say before we get started, next Monday, we've got Giuliana Graziani with us. So that's Monday the 22nd. So look out for that one. And I'm going to bring on Steve and Jonah. Hi, guys. You okay?
Oh. Chris, I think.
Hiya.
You're right.
All good. Yeah.
Good. All right, then. So I'm going to leave you. As always, any questions, please leave in the comments. We'll get through as many as we can. And I will see you all later.
Chris, thanks very much indeed. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Steve from a very exotic location, by the look of it. Jonah from a nice location, not quite so exotic, but thank you both very much. And you can tell it's summer because there's sunshine in the background, Steve. What's going on there?
It is. Oh, it's sunny in Devizes. It's always sunny in Devizes.
A bigger garden than everyone at Swindon put together.
I don't know about that, mate. That's the only reason I'm sat here is for Jonah's banter about the garden.
Well, it looks a very nice garden, I have to say. And yeah, well done to you. Right. Well, thank you very much indeed, gentlemen, both for joining us. Jonah, I have to ask you how you're feeling after your appearance last evening. Are you okay?
Yeah, it was all right. I only played 30 minutes, so yeah, it wasn't too much. I think if I'd played 90, I would have been struggling. But yeah, I try and keep fit. Well, I'm only 22, so I should be fine.
Yeah, there's no need to boast about your age, Jonah. It's not a good look, is it? I mean, it was nice to play alongside some, legends of the club, wasn't it? I mean, that must have been great.
Yeah, a bit of a dream come true, really. I mean, I've been involved in a couple of the charity ones the previous couple of years, but I'd say that was probably the best one. Some of the people there, like Simon Ferry, Paul Caddis, being on the same team as them was class, to be fair. There's some good people there. Yeah,
we should mention Paul Hunt as well, who scored 2 cracking goals, and he was desperate
in these games.
Yeah, he was desperate to get a hat-trick. I sort of spoke to him in the car park afterwards, and he was really upset that he didn't get a hat-trick. But hey, that's footballers for you. Steve, unfortunately, you had to sit alongside me for the whole experience, but it was a good night, wasn't it?
It was brilliant. No, I loved it. Again, Jonah's talking about dream comes true. To talk through a game with Vic Morgan is like, that's mad. Never thought that would be the case.
I haven't listened to it back yet, so I hope he wasn't battering me too much for it.
I wouldn't like to say, Jonah, that's up to you to listen to it. I couldn't really comment. But I tell you what, the difficult thing was, of course, we didn't know what the heck was going on most of the time, did we? So, people were coming on, people were going off. But that's the nature of such things. And it was a great evening. People really, really enjoyed it. And I think that's the main thing. That's all you can ask for. Money was raised. Well done to Hannes and the team for putting it together. Fabulous evening. Yeah. So messages already coming in. Callum says, Callum Knowles.
Oh, hi, Callum.
Can we ask Jonah how many times he adjusted his hair on the pitch last night? Is there a figure?
I don't know. He was obviously watching, so don't know. It was quite windy, wasn't it? So I was trying to hide my hairline.
You've done it 4 times already tonight.
Yeah, that's without the wind. So
Yeah,
it was definitely more than 4.
I was going to say, is it windy in that room at the minute? Sharon says the Kitmen are Swindon Town for me. They absolutely love the club, and we'll get into that in a minute. Rich says, brilliant. Thank you so much. Can you ask them if they have spare shirts for the museum, and have they got anything to give to the museum? Rich, thanks very much indeed for asking on behalf of the museum. We will be talking more about that in the weeks to come, of course. But let's talk about the shirt collection. I mean, I did my best behind me, but I don't think I can possibly compete, Steve, with how many shirts have you got in that kit room? Do you know?
I think we've got 49 that have been gifted to us. So from like other clubs and players that have given to us, and I've lost count of Swindon ones.
Yeah,
I mean, we've got from 85 right up through to present day. We're probably missing 6 or 7 in the early 2000s.
I can see a few that Vic's got there that we're missing.
Yeah, that we need.
Oh,
yeah, there's a couple in there that we're missing.
From
which ones specifically? Can you tell
the
me?
white nationwide behind you.
Yeah.
Kingswood, the black and red Kingswood one.
Yeah.
We've got the home one of that, I think.
I've got that somewhere.
Red and white Kingswood there as well. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I've got 3 drawers full upstairs if you want some more.
I don't know, to be honest, how many we've got.
Probably around 70 mark, I'd say.
Yeah, it's got to be 70 odd.
Yeah,
I'd imagine.
Well, that's really good. I mean, how did that all start? I mean, obviously, you are Kitmen, so presumably you've got access to shirts. But have you made it a specific thing to collect as many shirts as possible?
Yeah. So we didn't, when we first started, obviously, we didn't really have a clue what we were doing. And I think the first one we got was Matty Taylor's at the end of when he obviously retired. So he left his shirt with us, and we thought, oh, that's cool. And then we just started bringing in a few of our Swindon ones from home because the kit room was just bare. There was nothing. The walls were there was nothing on there. And we brought in a few from home. There was a few dotted around the club. And then, they just were found in drawers in offices, and we just started like making a collection. And then about maybe 2.5 years ago, we started getting ones from other lads from other clubs when they had left from us. And it's just, it's grown from there, really, hasn't it?
What is it about shirts, Steve? I mean, look at me. I mean, got hundreds of the damn things. I mean, what is it about old shirts? Why do we love them so much, do you think?
I'm going to go with the memories piece. I think you look at a shirt, like before we come on air, we were talking about the blue 442, and instantly you're thinking of players, you're thinking of moments, you're thinking of games, you're thinking of away days that you've been to with friends, all that kind of thing. And that all stems from a conversation around the shirt that the team wore. So I think it's a memories thing. I think you look at a shirt and you instantly think of good days, bad days, and players. So I think that's why people get so attached to them.
A small part of your job, of course, is Sean says, Jonah, sing Another Love. Now, this is something you had to do in front of the players, wasn't it? Do you want to tell us that story?
So a couple of months before Christmas it was, so quite a while ago now. The speaker was on, and I always have a little sing anyway. And so one of the lads I think it was Alice, just said, "Oh, go and run it back and sing the song." So I started singing it, and obviously Steve started filming it, and then naturally all the lads just sort of come together, and it was just natural, really. And then we put it online, and it did really well. So that's how that came about.
That's the thing, though, Steve. We were talking about this last night. The relationship between you and the player seems very, very good. And the one word that you need in that is trust, isn't it? I mean, and you were saying last night about how players will come to you and talk about things that they wouldn't necessarily talk to other people about. And that's very important, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's massive. And then it works 2 ways. So if we ever need anything, they're kind of there for us as well, which is quite nice. And you feel really, I don't know, you do get really close to the players, which is why sometimes when a player leaves or whatever, it's quite a difficult moment because, you've been with them every day for 10 months or for 2 years, or in the case of Frenchie for 4 years, and so it's really difficult when they leave. But you have to create that relationship. And that's kind of part of our role within like the environment and the culture, is to really be part of that group so that we can understand the players, and that can also help from a management point. Because if we've got a really good relationship with them and we know things that are going on in their lives, we can then, let the appropriate people know so that things can be treated the proper way. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
So,
Yeah.
Important prospect.
Jonah, I mean, is there a shut the door moment where a player can come in, you shut the door, you can talk, and obviously what is said in there stays in there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, there's not every player does it, but there's a few players that obviously you gravitate more to and you get closer to, and they feel more comfortable with you. So there's always a group every year that are always in the kit room. So yeah, they're really comfortable with us, and nobody really comes in there other than the players, like on a day-to-day, really. So they know that they're safe in there to just have a little chit-chat.
Yeah, that's good to know. Nigel says Blue 442 Charlton away playoffs. We were discussing that a little earlier, weren't we? Steve says, ever thought of collecting boots? There it is. That magnificent shirt. Ever thought of collecting boots? Does the boot room still stink, or has the air improved?
There's hundreds of pairs of worn football boots in there. Of course it smells.
Always.
Yeah, because tell us about footballers and their boots, because they're weird things, aren't they? I mean, in years gone by, they probably have a pair of boots for a whole season, but on average, Jonah, how often do they get through a pair of boots?
Well, boots these days, literally, sometimes they might wear them a couple of times, and they just like start coming apart, and they have to send them back and try and get another pair. But some lads, it will differentiate. It will change. Sorry. Some lads will wear a pair of boots for 4 or 5 months, and some will literally, like Marcel, for example. He must have about 10 pairs of boots in the boot room, and you have to literally take every pair of boots that he's got with you, because you never know what he's going to wear. He will wear a pair in the warm up. He'll wear a pair just to warm up in if he's on the bench in the first half, and then he'll put a different pair when he comes on. And he's one of the players that we clean his boots. So after the game, we've got to clean 3 pairs of boots.
Is that a luck thing then, or is it just how he is?
I think it's just to annoy us, but I don't know. It's just I don't really know, to be honest. I need to find out from him. But for example, Sol's probably only got through. He only wore 3 pairs of boots all season, and his boots were battered by the end. But then there's other lads that change them every other week, so it just changes really.
And whose responsibility is that, Steve? Is it the player's responsibility to get the boots, or yours, or how does that work?
Players, they bring their boots to us, so they deal with all of that. They bring them to us, and then we look after them during the season. If they get a new pair, then they bring them in. We add them to the collection. Sometimes they'll take some away when they bring new ones in, but it's a purely individual thing. Some players will just leave all their boots with us, all the time. So, like Johnny Williams has got about 8 pairs of the same boots, and we just take all of them because they've all got different style plates, different studs, all sorts of different bits and pieces. So he then chooses on a match day what he'll wear. So yeah,
fair enough. There's no David Beckham has a brand new pair every game of kangaroo skin boots type thing, is there?
No.
Not our level.
Amazing. Right, Adam says, hi guys, you do a great job. My lad is thinking of becoming a kit man when he leaves school in a few years. Any advice on how to get started? That would be great.
Wow. Go on, Joan, I'll let you have this one.
When you look across all the kit men that we've met, they've usually either had another job at the club. So obviously Steve was working in the academy before he was kit man, and I was working in the club shop. So usually it's just from in the club. So most kit men we've met, I mean, Crawley last week, one of the kit men had been doing the commercial stuff or something, hadn't it? And he was just helping out. Usually they've always done they've worked in the club shop, or they've been coaching at the club. So usually it just becomes quite natural. I mean, obviously a lot of kit men do apply and get the job, but if you want advice on how to be a kit man, you've got to have thick skin. That's for sure, because you get battered by the players, and there's change all the time. You've got to adapt to changing plans. You might be in one day, you might be off a different day. So you've always got to adapt. So yeah.
And hours as well, Steve, I guess. I mean, it's not 9 to 5, is it?
Oh, it's certainly not. What do we do, Jonah? 6:30 till 6:30 most days?
Yeah, that's another thing. It just changes every day based on whether you've got a double session. So, for example, when pre-season starts, it will be a lot longer than a December. Or some days they'll have gym, but pre-season when they got double sessions, we'll be there late evening, still washing the kit, ready to turn it around for the next day.
And then
Wow.
match days are crazy. Depends where you are, what you're doing.
Especially if it's an away game in the day. Like,
And if it's an away game that's more than sort of 2 hours away, we'll go overnight. So we'll
Yeah.
train Friday morning, pack everything up, travel to the hotel Friday afternoon, stay the night, then go to the ground early doors Saturday morning, set everything up, then drive it all back and sort everything when we get back, do all the
Chris-
washing and get them about 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
Wimbledon, like previously, we must have got in about 6:30, I think maybe even 6, and we loaded the van up about 7, and we were on the road by 7:30, but then we didn't leave until midnight. So that some days are like that.
Do you ever get back with all the smelly kit and think, oh, darn it, we'll leave it till tomorrow? Or does it have to be done the same day?
I mean, you could, but usually after an away game, especially, you'll have a day off. And what you'd like to do is have your day off.
Yeah, we just come together. We get ourselves together, pick ourselves up, and then we just go, let's get this done. Blast it 2-3 hours, and especially the white kit this year. I mean, coming back from Warsaw on the Tuesday night, that pitch was horrendous. So we literally get back, we get all the white kit, we put it in the bath, vanish, bleach, and then we have to let it soak for an hour in hot water because otherwise it won't come out. And otherwise, you've got 3 hours of printing a new kit for however long for printing a new kit for the next game.
2 days.
Yeah.
Wow. Who knew? It's incredible, really. This is, I think we missed a trick in the club not to capitalise on the really organic moment with Jonah and that song. We could have made it a song for the club and fans to sing before a game, similar to what Scotland do with I Can Boogie. That was organic in the changing rooms and how Hampden go mental for it. Lots of comments about your Wi-Fi, Steve, and how good it is in your garden. And so good, we can hear the birds singing, which is rather...
Sorry, I can't mute the birds.
Who was the ice cream van? Was that by you, Steve, a minute ago?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I heard an ice cream van a minute ago.
No, you didn't. What you heard was my wife's alarm going off to book a gym appointment. That's what it was. So I just thought I'd let you know into that little secret. Kerry says, hi, Vic. We learned a lot from Steve, who was on our table at the awards night. Doing a great job, chaps. And here's a good one from Craig. Can Steve and Jonah give us some clues on next season's kit? Now then.
Wait a minute. No.
I mean, I'd love to know what next season's kit, because normally it's announced by now, isn't it?
Here's a clue. The home one's red.
Nah, knew it. I knew it. I just knew it would be red. Yeah. But normally it's out by now, isn't it? And sometimes they play the last game at home in it, don't they? So obviously a bit of a delay this year, I guess.
A little bit. I think it's just working everything in. Obviously, Dave, our media manager, has just left. I think that's, possibly caused a bit of a delay because without your media guy, you can't get stuff out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Callum's doing a great job of covering. But obviously, it's not Callum's role, and he's trying to do 2 different roles at the same time at the moment. So it's quite difficult. But I think from initial conversations, it will be late June, possibly early July, that you'll see it, and it'll be out. So yeah,
fair enough.
Safe saying that.
Okay. Well, 3 jobs really, because he produced a fantastic save last night, didn't he? To tip the ball over the bar. So
believe when he comes.
Yeah, fabulous save. Maria says, I was waiting for your washing tips. I mean, have you learned a lot doing this job? Because let's be honest, it's not a natural thing, I guess, to go washing football kits for people, but you have to learn that, don't you, as you go along? And mistakes, I guess, get made, do they?
I mean, I was 18 when I started, and I remember walking into the laundry room, and Seamus, who was working in the academy then, he had been doing a bit of the washing and that. He took me into the laundry room, and I was just like looking at all the machines and dryers, like I've never even used one at home, let alone like all these industrial ones.
You still haven't?
No, that's it. Like we've had to learn so much, like compared to now. When we first started, we were like didn't have a clue, did we?
No.
So it's
It's mad. The first day walking in the room, you're like, so what do we do? What does a kit man do?
Yeah.
Like, no, like you don't know, do you? If you're not in it, you have no idea. So
you got to have such memory. Well, there's so much stuff to memorize. Like you just have to like naturally take in. Otherwise, you'll just forget things.
Well, we're all getting questions about this, right? This is from Sean. Okay. Best solution for getting dried blood out of a shirt, chaps. Anyone want to take that?
Very liquid, rub it into the area, and then wash it with some Vanish.
With gloves on, though. Don't be rubbing it with
Don't be silly.
Yeah. Well, there we are. I don't particularly want to turn this into a household tips show, but anyway, if anybody's got any questions on that, then fine, fire away. Lovely. Steve says, is the Prodigy still on the playlist? Belting those tunes out, boys, before the team coach arrived at Carlisle. What sort of music gets played then in the dressing room, etc.?
Go on, Jonah. DJ Jonah.
Yeah, to be fair, well, in the home games, we don't go in the change room, really. We obviously set it up, and then when all the lads come in, because the kit room's opposite the change room, we just sort of chill out in the kit room, and if anyone needs anything, they'll come and see us. But on away games, obviously, there's nowhere ready to go, so we're in the change room, and I usually just put like a random house mix or R&B mix on, and this year, no one's wanted to change it, so I've been on the music on away games this year. And then the home games, it's just been random. I don't know who's been on it, but whoever has needs to have a hard look at themselves.
The game he's thinking of as well, whoever wrote the question, the Carlisle game, we were also playing a lot of Faithless and Insomnia. And that was before the boys even turned up. That was just me and Jonah in the changing room.
Yeah.
So he's obviously stood outside the door listening in.
Fair enough. Get some Led Zeppelin on, that'll be all right. You probably don't even know who they are, but anyway, we'll move on swiftly. Let's have another one here. Oh, yeah, Mark says, what's it like putting the colours in with the white? This is getting a bit much now, but anyway. Do you get mixed up? Do you come out with a white shirt that turns pink? Has that happened in the past?
Not really.
The only time that's happened, I think, Steve, is I think we might have put a new red towel in with a white one and it ended up pink. But I don't think we've really had that problem with I don't think we've had that problem with kit. We divide it up pretty good normally.
Well, there we are. And there's another one about white shirts. I bet you'd like to see white shorts dropped. I mean, where are you in terms of your favourite kit? I mean, to me, the home kit is a traditional red shirt, white shorts, red socks. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when we were in the Premier League, we wore red shorts, didn't we?
Yeah.
And when Paolo was the gaffer, we wore red shorts when we won the league.
And even on our first year in 18-19, we wore red shorts as well. So it's been
there has been some successful seasons in red shorts, but there's also been, I mean, that was 18-19 wasn't great, was it? But yeah.
No. I mean, I'm a very traditional person in terms of that kit. So what's your favourite away kit then, would you say?
Well,
is that forever or since we started?
Well, as a fan, because you're both fans, let's put it like that.
Mine's the blue one. Like it goes without saying. What a year that was.
I'm going to say memories. I'm going to say something different. I'm going to say the Inter Milan one from 2013-14. I like that one.
Nice.
The blue and the black. Yeah, very nice. Yeah,
I do like that.
Oh dear. Anthony says, I'll donate to charity if Vic sings Faithless Insomnia. That ain't going to happen because A, I don't know what that song is, and B, I wouldn't know how to do it. So what a shame. Never mind. How many shirts do we go through in a season, says Steve? I mean, do they have new kit every week, or is it the same kit every week? I mean, they're expensive things, these shirts. And what we should say, players have, when people hold up cardboard signs saying, can I have your shirt? They have to pay for them, don't they?
Yeah. So they pay their retail price for a shirt. So if they give one away, they've got to give the money so that we can get another one to replace the stock, basically. They have 2 of every shirt from the start of the season. Obviously, when they give one away, they pay the money and then we replace that shirt. But yeah, on the whole, they'll have 2 of each. And most players will give away 3 or 4 a season. Some give away loads, others don't give away any. But it's all, again, it's an individual thing. And if they give it away, it costs them money. So that's why some of them will go, no, I can't do it. Now the kit man will kill me. But in reality, you just don't want to pay 45 quid.
Fair enough. And I think we should say it's not just Swindon where that happens. I think most clubs,
Everywhere. Yeah.
they all have to pay for them.
Yeah.
Craig says potato print shirt was the best. That was the one way back, wasn't it? It was the Hoddle days, which I think had black shorts, if I remember rightly, with those. And the blackout kit, says Alexander. What did you think of that? Which is a rare sort of run out. It was that disaster night at Leighton Orient, 4-1, I think, wasn't it? One at Hartlepool in it. What was your view on that then?
I like it. Every single person that, like a new player, when they come into the kit room, obviously they have a look around and look at all the shirts. And pretty much all the players always go, "Oh, I'd love to play in that one. Can we get another blackout kit?" They all seem to like that one. So it always
and all the players at the time liked it as well.
Yeah.
I think it very much depends on the result when they're playing in them, doesn't it? If you remember that purple shirt we played out at Cheltenham, got stuffed in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
That didn't help with its popularity. But conversely, of course, they won at Sheffield United in the playoffs wearing it. So,
same for that black kit, because then we went and won at Hartlepool, didn't we? Which was
yeah,
quite a good
absolutely. Yeah. I think Matt Bowdry scored that day, didn't he? Obviously, he's had a very tough time with injury. And I'm guessing when a player is having a tough time like that, you two are there to sort of talk to, are you? Because I think people get forgotten, don't they? When players are injured for a lengthy spell, they're out of the limelight, and it must be very tough for them because they want to play football, don't they?
Yeah. The problem for injured players as well is that our gym is based at the ground, and obviously we train in Calne. So a lot of the time they're doing their rehab separately with one of the sports scientists at the ground. So a lot of the time when they're injured, they're not actually integrated as much. So it is quite hard for them because they're not around the lads as much. So yeah, it's quite tough.
Obviously, we're back to the stadium in the afternoons to do all the washing and everything. So we see, the injured lads all the time. So people like Reece Devine have had a real tough time this year. But we've seen a lot of him. And I think it's been good for him to have somewhere to come and sit and, chat with us, and we'll have a coffee. And, I think that's helped him a bit. And, we're just glad to be there to help him any way we can, really. But yeah, Reece has been the one this year we've seen a lot of.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really good as well.
Sorry, go on, Jonah.
So yeah, I was going to say it's really, because obviously we see the injury when it happens, whether that's in a game or at training, and usually we're probably go in with them and like see if they're all right. And it is rewarding to see them come through it, and then like when they come back for their first game or first training session, or even if it's that bad, first steps, it is quite nice to watch the journey, see them come out the other side.
Yeah, I remember many years ago when Colin Coldwood had a serious knee injury. All the rest of the players were going off training. He was going out on a solo bike ride for a long time. And, this is one of our greatest ever captains. And he went through a tough time. So he needed people to boost him as well. So we should remember those who get injured, because Jordan Lydon, I see, has just been released by Leighton Orient today, hasn't he? And he went through a very, very tough time.
Talk of injuries, he's another one. I remember like when he did this really bad one, it must have been months and months that he was off his feet, and he was walking down the corridor at the ground, and it was his first steps in about 4 or 5 months. So that just seeing like those little bits happen, like it's really good.
And actually, when he got back out on the grass at the training ground, he brought his phone out with him so that we could film his first jog.
Yeah.
So when he started jogging and changing direction and stuff, we were filming it so that he could watch it back, and the sports scientists would have it, because it was such a serious injury for Jordan that, for him to come back was massive. So, yeah, that was a nice moment.
Yeah, I remember you put it online as well, didn't you, if I remember rightly?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We put it up, the club put it up, someone put it up.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine going for an injury like that.
No. I
couldn't do it personally, but
yeah, you do have to have a great degree of mental strength, don't you, to come back from that. Kerry says, tell Clem to bring back Adidas, always the best merch. Kevin's come up with this question. Who washes the jock straps, if I might use that phrase? Is that down to the players or you?
No, it just all goes in with the other kit.
We goes in with the rest of it, yeah.
Job done. Don't worry about it.
Okay, well, let's start about how you actually got into it then, because you were coach, Steve, at the academy. You were in the shop, Jonah. I mean, how did that happen? How did that suddenly occur? And you've said, from what you said earlier, there wasn't anybody around to give you the advice as to how to become a kitman. So how does that work? Did somebody in the club come to you and say, here, look, do you want to be kitman? How did it work?
So I was looking for some work. The other work I had been doing had stopped. I was running Charlie Austin's football school for him, actually. And he moved to West Brom, so couldn't be around, so couldn't, come to the events and stuff. So it was the right thing to do, because you can't have Charlie Austin football school without Charlie Austin.
No.
Realistically, it wouldn't work. So I was kind of looking for some work. So I spoke to Seamus, because obviously he was running the academy at the time, along with, Alan McLaughlin. They were kind of running it together. And I spoke to Seamus, and I was just like, look, is there anything around? Is there any work around the club I can do just to earn some extra cash, really? And the same week, the kitman had left. So they had no kitman. Or the kitman, he was still there officially, but he hadn't come to work for a few days. So they needed someone to help out. So he just said, look, come to the club now, see me in the kit room, and we'll see what we can sort out. So I was told, you'll get 20 hours work this week, but I can't promise anything next week. And 4.5 years later, we're sat here. Yeah.
And you, Jonah, was it quick? Similar sort of thing? Needed help, so you moved in there?
Yeah, so I was in the club shop for a year and a half, and I don't know if you remember the Exeter game that we played. It was on New Year's Day in 2019. Dion Conroy played in midfield, I remember. And
we got beat 2-0, if I remember rightly, much
yeah,
to my annoyance living near Exeter. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and the boys were in the next day, and they basically just said, have you got you free tomorrow to come over and help with the kit? I said, yeah, that's fine. And I actually went up to the training ground with the kit man that was there at the time, and we got to the training. He had forgot all the boots. So my first day I was up at Calm, and there was no boots, so they couldn't train. So that was interesting. And then
that's
come back
the same day that I rang Seamus.
Yeah. And then I think it was the day after, me and Steve were literally just like that into the kit room, and we just literally met like that, and we were just like, we just got introduced in the kit room, and the kit man that week left, and then we were just left to our own devices. And 4.5 years later, we're still together as a duo. So
still learning.
Yeah, still learning.
So how does this work though, and how does the relationship work? Because there's bound to be tensions at times. You work in long hours, you get tired, etc. But generally, basically, you got to get on, haven't you? Because you're in close confinement all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we literally didn't know anything about each other at all, and now we know everything about each other, and probably see each other. Well, we do see each other. Obviously, not now, but in the season, we see each other more than our families. So, yeah, we obviously have to get on. But there's some days where, like, we might go home and we don't talk. But
no. Daniel will text me, are you all right? Are you all right? Are you okay? Are you all right?
No, obviously on the whole, we get on. Like, we're probably best mates now. So.
I think it helped that we were both dropped into a situation together.
Yeah.
So we were both starting at the same point. We were both didn't really know what we were doing. We both come from other parts of the club, but we were also both fans. So we had a lot in common anyway. So I think there was a good starting point and a good ground to, start from there. So I think that helped a lot, because we were just both trying to learn and figure out what the job was and what we were going to do and how we were going to do it, and still now we look at things and we're like, maybe we could do that differently. Maybe we could do that better. We see other kit men work and we're like, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. We try to each season we try to get a bit better and do things, a bit better and develop a little bit.
But yeah, just going back, to when we first started, we walked into the kit room. For anyone that's seen it now, obviously, we walked into the kit room and it was so claustrophobic. There was literally just heaps of years and years kit, and it was no organization at all. And like now we've only literally like a few months ago, we're at the stage now where we're like happy with it. We've got it all organized, but it was such a mess when we first got in there, wasn't it?
No, we just couldn't work. After the first week, we were just clearing the place out.
Yeah.
We were like, why have we got kit from 14, 15 sat in the corner? It's a complete waste of space. Get rid of it. So we just cleared the place out completely. I think at one stage we found a mouse.
Yeah.
Living in there, and Jonah wouldn't come in the room.
we've made it how we want to work now, so it's good in there now.
Was the mouse a midfielder or was it a defender? Which one did you think it was?
I don't know.
It was
He was dangerous.
There's something here which I don't know if I should ask this, but Matt Taylor, I don't think it's Matty. It might be. Who knows? There are a lot of Matt Taylors, as we know.
It's probably my mate.
Fair enough. How does the age gap work in your relationship?
Well, Jonah does become an annoying 22-year-old sometimes. And I become an annoying old man sometimes.
To be fair, like, you don't, well, obviously you notice the age gap because he's obviously a lot more mature than I am. But in some ways, you don't really, like, most people say, Steve, whenever anyone's joined, we always say, guess our ages. People think I look about 34 and people say Steve looks 26. So I don't really know. People say I look older than I am and people say Steve looks young. So
I'll take that.
Yeah, well, absolutely right. Yeah, quite right too. Now, lots of comments coming in, and it's great to see this. Hope Jonah and Steve know about the legendary incident in the 60s when they played in basketball daps on an icy pitch. Now, you may not know about this, but it's the anniversary, of course, of the town's first promotion in 62, 63. And there was a legendary game, I think Queen's Park Rangers, off the top of my head, in that very bad winter, where they had to adapt and play with basketball boots rather than boots. So Town won 5-0. QPR couldn't stand up. I mean, do you advise players sometimes on what boots to wear, or is it purely and utterly up to them?
It's up to them, but a lot of the time they'll, especially at away games, they'll come into the change room and ask us what the pitch is like, because that will obviously decide whether they're a stud or a mould. So if you go to Salford, for example, it's always going to be a stud because the pitch is just mud. There's no grass. There's no like. But if you go to a Plymouth, where their pitch is incredible, then it's always going to, or most of the time, it's going to be a mould because you can play on it because it's nice and firm and, you know, good grass coverage and all the rest of it. But yeah, we obviously, once we've set up, we go out and we have a little look at the pitch. Sometimes I'll take pictures if it's particularly bad and send it to the analyst or to a couple of the players and just be like, this ain't great, so prepare yourselves. But yeah, they come and ask, but obviously they go out and do a walk of the pitch themselves when they get to a ground, so they'll see for themselves. But yeah, we advise if we're asked.
And are blades still a thing? They were quite fashionable a few years ago, weren't they, Jonah, blades on the bottom of boots? But are they still a thing?
I don't think so. Do
you not know what blades are?
No.
Oh my goodness. It's only about 2 years ago. I can't believe it.
They're not a thing. I think they were linked to lots of ACL and MCL injuries because of the way that they turned in the ground. And I think the manufacturers just kind of phased them out, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they weren't around for long, were they?
You don't see any of them.
No. I've got a question here from Jacqueline Smith. Benjamin Hooper.
That was my partner. She sat upstairs.
Benjamin Hooper just asked, why are you the best kit man, Steve?
Me? I don't know if I am. That's my son. He's 6. In other words, she's asked. And she's passing it off on my son. I don't know. Why am I? Jonah, why am I the best kit man?
Because of your hair. I don't know.
Cheers, mate.
Well, I've one for you then, Jonah. As long as Jonah has his jam donuts, he's all good. You're a jam donut person then?
Oh, do you not know about the donuts?
Go on, tell us about the donuts.
I'll elaborate on this. So me and Steve always go to Tesco before a home game. And we just get some like snacks for the day. And I went to get some jam donuts. We were walking back to the stadium, opened the packet up. They weren't jam donuts, they were ring donuts. So I was like, what? So I was fuming. And we did a TikTok video on it. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, there's a Tesco's opposite where we train in Carl. And I've gone in there, and one of the managers in there has come up to me as I'm paying. And he's gone, we seen your TikTok the other day, and sorry about what happened with the donuts. I was like, that's obviously it's fine. Like, and he said, I'm going to go and get you some now. And he come over to the till and he said, got some free donuts for you. So I had some free donuts.
So we had donuts.
Yeah. So that was that story.
You can't argue with that, can you? Most tidy player in the changing room, says John, and of course the most untidy. Who would you say that is? Bearing in mind you may have to work with these people in future.
Which one do you want, Jonah?
I'll say the tidiest. You can
Go on then. Yeah, and I'll throw the one under the bus.
Yeah. Fraser's the tidiest. I think he's got a bit of OCD. He comes in, he folds all his stuff. His trainers are neat. He always likes everything neat. So yeah, he's the tidiest.
And the messiest is by far Matthew Baldry. I've never seen anyone make so much mess in my life. For someone who's so well presented all the time, he's an absolute mess.
To the point as well, where people have wanted to move in the change room on match days because of how messy it is. So if they're number 5 or number 7, because obviously it's number order, they ask to move.
So you know who that is that asked to move.
I do find that amazing because whenever you see him at the social events, he's dressed like you would think a Frenchman is dressed, isn't he? He's always very smart.
Dressed, to be fair.
Yeah. So take us through a day then. Say, I don't know, Swindon aren't playing. You've got training. You have to get a car and you have to do all that. How would a typical day start and finish?
Go on, Joe.
So get up about just before 6. I only live 10 minutes away from the ground, so travel into the ground. Usually get there between sort of 20 past and 6:30. Everything's washed from the day before, so you go in, get everything in the corridor ready to load up on the van, because obviously we have to transfer quite a bit of the stuff up to training every day. We obviously leave some bits up there, but I get in, rolled all the towels with all the kit in ready, have that all loaded. Then Steve, because obviously Steve lives in Devizes, so it takes him a little bit longer to get there. We then load the van up together. We load that up, drive over. We usually get to training about 20 past 8. And the lads are usually, well, this year they're due in at 9:30, so we have sort of an hour to set up. Some lads come in earlier for treatment and stuff, but that doesn't matter too much. And then training usually starts maybe 11 o'clock. That can be an hour, 2 hours, depending on the day. So we do training and we're out there getting the balls and picking all the equipment up to make sure it's all tidy and ready to go into the next drill. And then all the players go back to the ground for gym. So we have to pack everything up, take it in the van, go back, wash all the kit from what they've used in the morning. They obviously put their second kit on to go back for the gym. We get back to the ground and we have to wash the first set of kit, wash the boots, all that sort of stuff. And then do anything else like print shirts ready for the weekend's game or any little bits like that while the washing's on. And then obviously they finish in the gym, sometimes not until 3:30, 4, because a lot of the players get rubs and stuff like that. So then we usually, some days we might be done by 5:30, some days it might be 6:30. It just depends on how quick the players are getting out. And then usually, so all the kit's then turned around for the next day, and then it's just sort of a repeat. The job's just a cycle all the time, really. Obviously, week to week it changes, because you might have a Tuesday night game and have a Wednesday off. So it just depends on the week, really. But it's just always a cycle. It's not the hardest job in the world. Obviously the hours are long, but it's just, you just got to keep going, really. It just keeps ticking, and that's how it is for sort of 9-10 months of the season.
I guess another thing, Steve, is let's take Bradford City away, for instance. Say Tuesday night at Bradford. There are a lot of motorway closures, things like that. I mean, I didn't get back till 4 a.m, and but what you get back at like 2, and then you have to do all this stuff. I mean, that must be a really hard gig, mustn't it?
Well, what we tend to do is, if it's like a Bradford away on a Tuesday, we'll get the club to pay for a hotel for me and Jonah for the Tuesday night. So then we come back Wednesday morning and do all the work when we get back, and then go home. So we'll get up at 6, drive back, be home by 9, get the work done, be out there by maybe 12, and home for the afternoon, and then have your afternoon before you're back at work the next day. If it's a bit closer, so like what have we had recently? Sutton on a Tuesday, we'll drive back, and we'll get all the work done, and I'll get home about 3-4 o'clock in the morning. It's long, but it is what it is, you know. If you've got to work in it, it's the way it is.
I'm bound to say, you both love it, don't you? I mean, you are both fans, and you have to love it, don't you, Jonah?
I have to admit, like, there's probably not been a day gone by where I struggled to get out of bed to come in. Obviously, it is work, but to me, it's just the lifestyle, really. It's just you drive in. Obviously, not every day's a good day. You get some bad days, but on the whole, it's just, I enjoy every day. Every day, and the thing is, every day is different, and you're always meeting new people, whether that's staff, players. You get to know so many different people, so it's always fresh. And the routine changes because managers change, so it's not always the same. So it's nice, it's fresh all the time.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I've done a lot of other jobs before doing this, and yeah, there's no other job that you can, like. So for today, for example, there's a player that needed his boots, so he rings me this morning. Is there any way I can get my boots? In no other job would you drive 40 minutes to open a door to get someone's boots, to take those boots to the person. You know, like, you just wouldn't do it for anybody in any walk of life. But in this job, because you love it, and it's just, as Jonah says, it's more like a lifestyle than a job. You know, and it's like, I mean, it's the dream, isn't it? When you're a fan growing up, when you're with the lads as a teenager watching, you know, your football and going to your games, if someone says to you, in 20 years' time, you're going to be in the dressing room every game, you're going to be with the team every day, you know, as we spoke about last night, Vic, it's just, it's a dream job. So,
as you're a kid, everybody wants to be a footballer, don't they? And this is, I'd say, in football, it's the second best thing in my opinion. I don't know about you, Steve, but we literally get to be in the change room, get to be around the lads, get to be around the management. We get all of that. So we do feel like it.
Other than being a player or a gaffer or a coach or whatever, there's no other role that, you know, and those roles, they're all results based, and they're all like, oh, you might be out of a job or you might not, you know. Whereas our role is as secure as roles can be in football. I mean, there's never, you know, 100% security in any role. But, you know, if you were going to say what's the most secure role in the game, it's probably ours.
I have to say that the worst bit about the job is, I was just saying then about when people join and people leave. The worst thing is, obviously, people leave in any job, but sometimes it's literally they're gone like that. We've had it on transfer deadline days where you get a call at 11:20. Are you still up? Yeah. And then you just have to rush to the ground, and they're like, yeah, I've literally got to go here. And then you don't see them again. That's happened a few times.
Like DJ, when he went to Charlton, the first time we had seen him since then was the other day at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And it was on that day we had no idea he was leaving, and he was just gone. And then we didn't see him for nearly 3 years.
Yeah, that was right close to the deadline, if I remember rightly. It didn't get announced to the following morning. Yeah. Let's have a look at this. Oh yes, I know. Harry McCurdy, funny or annoying? Now, this is a unique player, I think it's fair to say. Karen Rose has sent this in, one of the old duffers. Now, you know, last season, we were talking about this last night, Steve, weren't we? That magic moment against Man City, you know, put it in a bottle, sell it in the club shop, it would fly off the shelves. It was such a fabulous season. But how was he with you people, with you guys?
He was great with us. Yeah, absolutely great. Loved him, to be honest. Obviously, like with anyone with a personality like that, there can be moments where you're like, come on, mate, you know, and it can get a bit annoying. But on the whole, absolutely, top drawer guy. Top drawer.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean
it was, go on, sorry.
There's a little bit that shows his character. So when he was leaving, we were at training, and he was obviously getting everything sorted on deadline day, and he was getting on a plane, and he was off wherever he was going and sitting in airports for hours or whatever went on with that. But before he left, he got his shirt off the rail and wrote a lovely message on the back of the shirt to me, and Jonah signed it and just left it on the table for us. You know, we didn't even know he had done it. and then we get back from training and it's just left there for us, and that just, he didn't need to do that. A lot of people wouldn't have even thought to do it. But before he left the building, he came in the kit room, he got someone to get the key and open the kit room. He come in, and wrote this message on the shirt and left it on the table for us. So that's just, that just shows the kind of relationship that we had with him, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it was an incredible season. And I've always said, in a way, if these two seasons had been flip-flopped, the spirit in the club would, the fans would have been much happier, because last season, of course, exceeded all expectations, didn't it? And this season has been underwhelming, let's put it like that. So they've been flip-flopped in many ways. Derek says, Steve, this is obviously your best. Derek Elston, who goes everywhere from Northampton, watching the town. This is obviously your best job, but what is the worst job you've ever had, and why?
Oh, I've worked in a few supermarkets in my time. But before I did that, I worked in a sandwich factory on the industrial estate in Devizes. And we were doing all sorts of weird hours, me and my mates, and we were doing weekends and evenings and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, probably that, to be honest. Just standing there with 6 other people as bread come past you and then slopping stuff on the bread that's probably the one.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, here's from Sharon. Will you continue the podcast next season? They're a great listen at 3 a.m. when I'm stocking the shelves at work. Now, let's talk about the podcast, because you've mentioned TikTok already. Now, this is becoming a thing, the KITMEN. Jonah, how did it all come about? Whose idea was it in the first place?
So obviously we had been doing the TikTok for a couple of years. And there's a few of the videos that started doing really well. And we go to other grounds and they're like, oh, we've seen you on TikTok and stuff like that. And I don't know, we just sort of like come together. We thought, oh, maybe the next step, why don't we start a podcast and just start doing it with a few of the players? We just sort of come together, and then the club were cool with it and said that, we could go along with it. And I think it's done all right. So I think we'll be carrying it on. We've got a couple coming up in pre-season. Scott Twine's going to come on. So it's just nice to have something. Obviously we don't have that much spare time, but it's just nice to have something else to have a focus on as well as the job.
Yeah, Steve, we were talking about this last night, weren't we, in terms of you get a unique access to the players, and you're very fortunate in that. So you can give fans something that other podcasts can't. I mean, we get them 15, 20 minutes if we're lucky, but you're with them every day. So you get that unique insight, don't you?
Yeah, we do. And as we were saying last night, Vic, it's when we had that COVID year, there's players that the fans have never watched play. They've never had a relationship with. They've never had a connection to. So if there's anything me and Jonah can do that bring that connection stronger with the current players, with the fans that are coming to games, and people can learn more about the players, and then they feel more invested in the club and in the individuals that they're watching play, I think that can only be a good thing, because that COVID year robbed so many people of seeing players and getting to know players. And feeling like they got relationships with the players. There's people like Matt Smith, who was on loan from Arsenal, that no fan ever saw play for us. But he was phenomenal. What a lovely lad. So if we can give that kind of insight and relationship into, with the fans and the players, then why wouldn't we? And we're definitely going to carry on with the pod. It's done really well. We get people contacting us all the time wanting to come on. I mean, even last night at the game, there was 2 that actively, wanted to come on the pod. So that's a really good sign that people are enjoying it. We've even had people from other clubs, players from other clubs, contact us to try and come on. And we're trying to work on something with one of them at the moment. So maybe that will happen during pre-season. But definitely we'll have new players to talk to. We've obviously got a new gaffer that we'd love to get on. We'll definitely be carrying on. For sure.
Well, that's good to know. The COVID season, of course, we were allowed to see 2 games. I think it was, Charlton and Fleetwood, I think it was. They were. Those were the 2 games, wasn't it? And we all had to sit socially distanced in the Don Rogers stand. It was a very strange and bizarre experience. And I was saying to you last night, Steve, I was doing the Swindon Exeter Johnston's Paint Trophy game with no team sheets or anything early season. Very odd Very odd time. Let's have a look. More questions coming in. This from Jim. Favourite player whilst you worked at the town? Who would you say, Steve?
What a question.
Yes.
Oh, that's a tough one, that. Because do I base it on my relationships or do I base it on just the footballer? I don't know. I'm probably going to have to go with Charlie, aren't I think.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was saying to you last night, we were on the same table, weren't we, at Christmas in that dinner for people of how can I put this, more experienced age like me. And I did ask you the question whether you were preparing a number 32 shirt for a certain player, and you were coy. I think it's fair to say. I don't know whether you knew or didn't know at that time. Did you know?
I might have known something. Yeah, maybe. Sorry, Vic.
No, I absolutely right. You couldn't say anything. You're quite rightly so. How about you, Jonah?
There's a good handful. It's hard to choose one.
Don't sit on the fence. Come on. Big player.
There's been a couple this year that I had really good relationships with. I've really got on with Sol and Fraser this year. Yeah, I don't know. Also, Rob Hunt, Lewis Reed. There's loads. I can't pick one.
You're going to sit on the fence after I've just done that?
I can't pick one.
I've not gone with Reedy. I've not gone with Glads. I've not gone with
Glads as well.
With Sol, with Hunty.
There's a great
Yatesy, Doyler. There's so many.
Yeah, there's too many to choose from.
So many.
He's hung you out to dry there, Steve. I think it's fair to say.
Fine. It's fine. He does that on the daily basis.
Oh dear. And also I mentioned this to Steve last night, Jonah. I've noticed now away games, you leading the chants. Now I sit in the Arkles John Trollope stand, so Steve says you do it at home games as well. But explain how that all came about.
That comes from the TikTok that we were on about earlier. So I think it might have been the Walsall game on Boxing Day, because the video was a few weeks after that, a few weeks before that. And yeah, we always get the balls in the main goal. Yeah, as we were putting the balls in, I just heard a few fans saying like, "Jonah, give us a song." And then I just thought, I'd say give us an S. And then ever since doing that, every game I've done it. And I don't think people noticed until the sports scientist George was at Wimbledon. He was like, do you do that all the time? And I was like, yeah. So it's just something like
they all go back in the changing room while we're collecting all the stuff in.
Yeah,
so no one sees
they never see it. I think Charlie's first game, they did it before where they were doing the shooting, and I think he turned around to you, didn't he, Steve? And he was like, "Was that Jonah?" He
goes, "Are they asking Jonah to give a song?"
Yeah. I mean, that is to be fair, that's the first time I noticed it at Wimbledon, because obviously the goals are in close proximity to the crowd. So
obviously, there's a few games that I haven't done it, like when the away ends on the side. I'm trying to think if there's a couple recently that I didn't. Crew, I didn't do it and stuff like that. But usually, behind the goal, they've just been doing it, and I've just it's just been something they've done.
Fair enough. Well, it's great. I mean, I think it's another relationship, isn't it, between the fans and you? I think it's fantastic, really, and it's good to see. Our time is coming to an end in a minute, but there's so many questions coming in. First impressions on the new gaffer. Well, I guess you've not had too much to deal with Mike Flynn yet, have you?
We haven't met him yet. So
I met him in the corridor on his first day in the building, but we've not really had a moment where we sat with him or we've had too much to do with him, really, because obviously as soon as the season was done, we were out the door.
Yeah.
If you like. So yeah, we've only had 3 weeks off in 2 years because of the playoffs last year and the World Cup and season board. So we were ready for a break. Let's put it that way.
And does each manager have different demands on you? I mean, goodness, we've had enough of them in recent times, let's be honest. So do they each have a different demand, Jonah? Do they come to you with a set pattern of what they want, or is it very much up to you to provide the players with what they want? How does that work?
Our job pretty much stays the same, really, that not much changes. You have a little chat when they first join, and there's maybe a few different things that they might expect from you, and as time goes on, they might see how you work and say, "Oh, would you be able to bring this out and set this up for us?" So some managers do work differently. I know Steve used to set up the warm-ups under when Richie was there and John Sheridan. So, and now that doesn't happen. So, yeah, there's little things that change, but on the whole, really, we just crack on with our jobs, and the least they ask for, the better, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't really change too much, really, Vic.
It must be interesting though, because how difficult is that for a club, Steve? When I mean, I think we've had. I'm just trying to think. We had Scott Lindsay at the start. Then we had the chap from Chelsea whose name I've forgotten already. We wouldn't believe it, would you? And now, of course, we've got Mike Flynn. We've had 3 managers in the space of a short space of time. Jody, of course, Jody Morris. How difficult is that within a club to manage that change, would you say?
As I was saying last night, it feels like we've been in transition all season. Feels like we've been jumping from one thing to the next for most of the year, and then you just get used to one way of working, and then it will change to a different way of working. But you just kind of, as Jonah said right at the start when we were talking about tips for being a kitman, you've just got to be adaptable. When a manager leaves and another one comes in, or a new coach comes in, or whatever, you've just got to ask them what they want, from you. And then once you've kind of set that, level of expectation, then you just provide what they want, So from our point of view, it doesn't really change too much.
You've got to be yourself, really, haven't you? And just
and from a club point of view, I mean, it depends. Some managers want to come in and change everything. Other managers will come in and want to keep things as they are and just tweak things a little bit. So it depends on the individual that's coming into the club, really.
Well, we thank you very much for what you do, because it's an incredible amount of work that you do. And I think unless we talk to you, you have no idea what you actually have to do every day, which is extraordinary. So we thank you for your time. And when do you fit the podcast in? When do you actually, is that done between the hours of sort of 6 and 7 in the evening? How do you do it?
Pretty much. Sometimes we'll record them when they're in the gym. So we'll lock the kit room door while they're doing stuff in the afternoon. And as soon as the player's done with their gym session, they'll come into us and record. In terms of like Frenchie, he's now based in Bournemouth. So we had to actually make a proper appointment and get him up at a certain time. Obviously, we've got Matt Edwards from Mad Mash Media, who comes in and does all the filming and everything else for us. So we've got to coordinate with him to make sure it all fits. So it's a bit of a logistical challenge, but
it just means that we finish slightly later, really. It doesn't.
Yeah, it probably just adds an hour onto our day on whatever day that we are filming. So, yeah.
You thinking of doing a live show anytime soon?
Well, we were debating it. It's a debate, but yeah, maybe.
Just depends how many. We don't know how many people would turn up.
Well, I don't know. I think you get a decent attendance in the Legends Lounge. If you ever need
here's one for you, Vic. I'll throw this one in now. Maybe next year at maybe one of the sponsors' dinners or the Christmas thing or whatever, maybe we bring our sofa out and we chuck it on the stage, and me and Jonah sit there, and when people do the Q&A and stuff, maybe we do almost an episode in front of everybody at one of those events, maybe.
Well, I think that sounds a great idea. If you ever need a host, by the way, I'm available. Very cheap, in fact. Well, gentlemen, thank you ever so much. It's been great. And we could go on for hours, but I know you want to get off and enjoy your break. So I really appreciate your time. And, people like you are the lifeblood of a football club. And without you people, football clubs don't function. So thank you very much for what you do. And Steve, it was great to have your company last night. And Joan, it was great watching you play football last night. Steve was kind of complimentary. And one classic moment at the end was Steve mentioned on the fact that you went around and collected all the footballs to make sure nobody nicked them, which was quite interesting, really.
Yeah, I just want to look after the academy, make sure we got enough footballs to hand down to them next year.
Yeah, fair enough. Excellent. So there you are, Chris. What would we do without them, eh? What would we do without them?
It was fantastic. Thank you ever so much. And again, we've had sort of sports scientists on here. We've had Ali on. Until you know and speak to them like this, you don't know what goes on. So thanks ever so much. We just think you just
Thank you,
get in a
because
van and give them kit as you go out. But
that
no,
allows
I
people,
don't.
allows people to see and listen to what we do. So thank you.
And if anyone
No,
does
no,
want to listen to our podcast, they're all online.
Yeah.
They're all on the club's official YouTube channel.
Excellent.
There's a little
Get that in there. Get it
Yeah,
in
don't
there.
blame you. Life of Kitman. And Jamie says, great interview. Thanks for all the work behind the scenes. So there you go. I think people really do appreciate what you do. And,
They
you know,
do.
long may it be
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And I just want to say one thing. Vic, do you remember the last time we had somebody in the outside like this with the birds singing? Stefani Lorenzi in California. You're
yes,
not
it
in
was.
California, Steve, but
I'm not in California.
I've got to say, the backdrop, and there's a rabbit. If you turn around, there's a rabbit behind you. So, you know, the backdrop's pretty spectacular, I've got to say. It's pretty nice.
I'm still waiting for an invite down to the garden. I had an invite yet.
You did
well,
it.
we could have a garden party down there, couldn't we? It'd be
Yeah,
great. Have a Life of a Kitman live in the garden.
You
Get the
could.
sofa.
Yeah,
Why not?
very
Eh?
nice.
Get the sofa on the patio at the top.
Sorted.
We're blending.
Thanks so much. And we'll catch up soon. Have a good holidays anyway.
Thank you, guys.
Right. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. As I said, we will be back next Monday with Giuliano Graziali. Same time, 7 o'clock. But until then, have a good week and we will see you soon.